everybody, my name is Nona and I'm a beekeeper. I'm super excited to be here with you today to tell you a little bit about some of the tools that we use in beekeeping. Now, one of the best ways to do that is with a hive that doesn't have any honeybees in it, and that's what these are. So I'm going to take my veil off so that we can talk. Now, it's important to know that honeybees are not aggressive. They do not want to sting you. They're really focused on collecting nectar and pollen from all of the flowers around us. So if they come to you, they're just checking to see if you're a flower. If you're really still and patient, they'll just fly away when they determine you're not. Since I'm a beekeeper, I'm aware that bees have predators, and one of those is bears. So you might have read that in a storybook, but it's true in real life. So if I were a bear that wanted the honey in this hive, I might come and knock it over and take the lid off, and the bees would come up to defend their hive. That's why I wear the suit. It keeps me safe and it keeps the honeybees really, really safe, because when I open the hive, they'll come and see if I'm a bear. So now that we've got that, I want to show you the first tool that we use as a beekeeper, and that's our smoker. Smoke tells bees that there's a forest fire, and that makes them really focus on their hive. They want to protect their honey and everything else inside of it. So we use, you can use lots of different kinds of fuel. We happen to use hay because we have a farm and sometimes the cows leave a little bit. So I just stuff that in there and I add some fire. And this is a bellow. When you squeeze it, it pushes air in and smoke out. Now I'm ready to open the hive. So I'm just going to tell these bees I'm coming in, give them a little puff of smoke. I might sneak one in the top as I take the lid off. And now they're really focused on what's going on in their hive. So I'm going to get my hive tool, which has a sharp end and a hook. Bees are builders. They build honeycomb and they make this stuff called propolis. I call it bee glue because they like their hive to stay nice and tight. So I need my tool to help just wiggle and get these frames apart so that I can get them out and look at what's going on. Sometimes they do a really good job. So this is a frame of brand new honeycomb. You can see it's nice and white. That means the queen hasn't laid any eggs in it and they haven't stored any honey in it yet. This is a frame next to it that is dark. That tells you that the queen has been on this frame and laid lots and lots of baby bees. When a baby bee is born, there's a dark lining that stays behind in the cell. Now it's really important that we put these back in the same order that we got them out in, because the queen bee always has a plan and we don't want to interrupt that. So the queen bee is going to lay her nest in the middle of this hive and they're going to store some food on the outer frames. So I'm going to show you a honey frame. I'm going to use my tool. I'm going to use the hook end because honey is so tasty, but it's also really heavy. Oh, gotta give me a minute to get this out. So you can see that in every cell on this frame, they filled it with honey and then capped that cell with beeswax. Now this honey frame is a little darker than some, first because it's fall honey. It's from last fall and the flowers are darker. Also because thousands and thousands of bee feet have run across this and depressed the caps on the honeycomb. So if there were lots and lots of bees on this frame, which I can assure you there definitely would be, I could just use this very, very soft brush to gently move them out of the way so that I could see what was happening below. So I'm going to put this heavy frame back in just like I found it and tell you a little bit about the box. So this hive has 10 frames in it. Those are the squares that give the honeybees direction on where to build. And it was designed by a man named Mr. Langstroth. So this is called a Langstroth hive. This box where the queen lives is called a brood box, or because it's where the brood nest or all the baby bees are. In the springtime, when all of the flowers are blooming, bees can make lots and lots of honey. So we'll add a second box called a honey super, and the bees will go up into that box, fill it with honeycomb, store their honey there, and then that's how we'll harvest our honey. So if you were a beekeeper in another country or many, many years ago, you might use something that looks like this. This is called a skep. Now this is a decorative skep. It's not a working skep. If it were, it wouldn't have a bottom. This would be an open cylinder and the bees would make their honeycomb inside the skep. They would fill them with honey and then the beekeeper would just simply tip this upside down to check on the health of their hive. So those are some of the basic tools that we beekeepers use. It's pretty simple. They're super important though, and I'm so glad that you joined us to learn a little bit about beekeeping. I hope you'll continue to discover the great world of honeybees.